Hello and welcome to another video. I know it's been a while, and somebody here they actually mentioned and said, "Hey, DCompose, happy 10th anniversary on YouTube." And I was like, holy shit, that's right, 10 years. 10 years on YouTube. Back then, back in the old days, as we old people call it, if I was to post shit like this, people would troll the fuck out of me. And it's still like that today though, but a lot less. Trolling actually has gone down quite significantly on YouTube as to what it was in the beginning, so where people are more open to the idea of people talking about different things, different topics. So it's pretty cool. And the whole advent of like reviewing Transformers and stuff like that, the things that I did, which had never been done before, people looked at that and said, holy fuck, man, who the fuck, 30-year-old playing with toys, man, what the fuck, and now people are all like, yeah, man, fucking, like, the nerds are back. Pop culture is big. Like, they've taken over the world. It's fucking awesome. And it's not even, I don't even consider people like me nerds. I guess I don't know what I consider people like me. A little bizarre, maybe. Alright, so this video, nothing to do with that stuff. This video has to do with wrestling, has to do with Smackdown Live, and the pay-per-view last night, Backlash. Listen, SmackDown had big boots to fill to try to follow Raw from the beginning, from the get-go. And after last night's pay-per-view, I'm quite confident that they are going to do just fine. Seriously, from the opening bell, the women's match, the first match, was actually really, really, really good. Really good match. I was like impressed right away. It's like, okay, cool. We're getting a good match. Then we get the tag team qualifying match with Hype Bros and the Usos. The Usos finally turning heel. Took them long enough. Love their heel gimmick. Love their shh. I like that. You know, I've always been a big fan of the heels. And even though I still don't really like the Usos, I like the shh part, that's kind of cool. Other than that, I'm still not a huge fan of them, but good for them for going to the heel side. Maybe I'll actually start liking them now. But they had a good match, a really good match against Hype Bros, and were successful. And at that point, you kind of think, okay, well, the Usos are going to go on to win because they injured American Alpha, and then they're going to go on to win, and then American Alpha will come back later on and chase the titles. Anyway, so that's kind of what you think at this point. Now, trying to think what was the next match. Maybe it was The Miz against Dolph Ziggler. What a great match. The Miz is awesome. And that's not just like bullshit. That's not just a catchphrase. That's true. People have always like dissed him because of like how he came in. But the guy's good. He's good. He's sound. He's got the facial expressions. He wrestles well. He doesn't do anything, you know, he doesn't, he's not flamboyant. Well, character-wise, yes, but in the ring, he's not like doing these amazing things, but he's doing everything really well. And Ziggler is the perfect person to put The Miz with because Ziggler can sell fucking ice to an Eskimo. So, it's beautiful. It was a beautiful match. It was really, really, really well done. Probably one of The Miz's better matches in a long time, although he's good. He just never gets really the accolade, and I hope that people give him the accolade for this match because it was really, really a good match. And I love the taunting of Daniel Bryan and all that. And he is making the Intercontinental title relevant again, whether you people like it or not. And Maryse, wow, Maryse is so beautiful. Maryse is actually from my province. She's actually originally from Evanston, New Brunswick. I'm from Moncton, New Brunswick. Well, Dieppe, New Brunswick. And yeah, Maryse, always beautiful. I love her. I love hearing her. She always adds a lot of comedy to the Miz character. So pairing them together was actually a brilliant idea, getting them back together. I'm glad that Maryse finally came back. So let's move on to, I'm trying to think, okay, Randy Orton versus Bray Wyatt. So we're shown the backstage footage where Randy Orton gets attacked by Bray Wyatt, and then right away you're kind of like, well, it's either going to go one of two ways. Either he's going to come out and actually wrestle the match, or he's just going to come out perhaps at the end and do a run-in. So who do we get for a replacement? That was actually a little intriguing for a second because you're like, who are they going to get for a replacement? Who's going to replace Randy Orton? And then, boom, boom, here comes Kane. Listen, nothing against Kane. Kane's a great worker. He's been doing this for a very long time. And I think that's kind of where it lies. People, I think the WWE wants us to see him as some big, legitimate monster, hellfire, brimstone. And you can't see, he's been around too long. Like, he's been overexposed. He's lost too many big matches. Like, you can't believe that anymore. It's not believable. It's not like The Undertaker. The Undertaker, you can still believe that because he hasn't been overexposed. He hasn't really, his win column is a lot higher than his loss column. And he only show him once a year now. He's pretty much fucking the Santa of WWE. But, so, that's my thoughts. So, Kane, I really loved him back when I was in, like, fucking high school. I can't say that. Like, high school, I liked Kane. Like, it's a fucking long time ago. Like, he's still neat to see. But he's definitely not the monster they make him out to be. But it actually was a really entertaining match. And I think they went out of their ways to work harder, knowing that the fans are probably disappointed that Randy Orton wasn't wrestling. So they actually did a really good job. They kind of, they were hitting chairs and going over tables, the announce tables in the ring and all that. They're both working really well. The thing about Kane that's always got me was that you kind of knew the way the match was going to end because of the fucking pyro. If he goes into the ring and the pyro that's in the ring on the ring post goes off right away when he enters the ring, then you kind of have an idea he's not going to win the match because he has no pyro at the end. If the pyros don't go off when he goes into the ring, then you kind of have an idea, well, he's probably going to win because he's going to get up and do the whole, the pyros are going to go off. Once in a while, they do change that formula, but, like, trust me, 80% of the time, that formula is pretty dead on. So he naturally, the pyro didn't go off when he came into the ring, so he won the match. Orton did make a run-in, which was neat, although you kind of, I don't know, you're kind of showing his legs injured, and then he kind of runs into the ring really fast. You know what I mean? Gives him the RKO and takes off. The slithers out. I love the slow slithering out. That was actually really neat. But, it kind of doesn't lend credence to his leg being injured if he moves that fast. But I guess everybody can get a burst of adrenaline and do things like that. So now we move on to the tag team finals, which were... First of all, if you would have told me 2 months ago that Heath Slater and Rhino were going to be a tag team, I'd be like, I don't give a shit. If you had told me 2 months ago that Heath Slater and Rhino were going to become tag team champions, I would have told you, what the fuck are you on? But that's exactly what happened, and actually I couldn't be happier. That was beautiful. That match was awesome. Because it's weird because it's been such a long time since I was actually invested emotionally into a match. And he's talking about the kids, excuse me, and the double wide trailer and all this stuff. And, I know it's just him just basically cutting a promo, right? But it's been so believable. And the fact that Rhino comes in and you're like, Rhino, and they don't fit together at all. But some of the best tag teams, or the best, to watch, kind of rock and sock in them, were the ones that never really were supposed to be together. So those two together, and I was thinking, okay, the Usos are going to win. The Usos are going to win. The Usos are going to get the titles, and then the American Alpha will come back and they're going to chase them. So the Usos are going to get the titles. Usos are going to get the titles. Usos are going to get the titles. Next thing you know, bang, bang, fucking gore. And then I'm like, holy shit, is this going to happen? And then he just rolls on him. And I'm like, oh, fuck, he's going to kick out. Then 1, 2, 3. Next thing you know, my arm is up in the air, and I'm like, yeah! Like, I actually cheered out. was actually happy. It was weird because I usually don't get that emotionally invested into the stuff. But yeah, no, it was actually very, very cool. And the promo Heath Slater did after actually was really good. To about the double Y baby. That was very, very cool. And, when they were hugging and all that, Rhino and he, were talking to each other. I wonder if they were saying, like, yeah, we killed it. Because that fucking crowd was, like, hot. They were on fire, man. Like, they were just fucking cheering for Heath and Rhino. So, very, very, very cool. Excuse me. Now, that leads us to our main event. AJ Styles, the face that runs this place, against the lunatic fringe, Dean Ambrose. This is, from me watching it, like, I used to be a big Ambrose fan, or Mark. But I find he's kind of like, I still like him, but definitely not as much as I did when he first came in with the Shield. AJ Styles, on the other hand, has always been one of my favorite wrestlers. He is phenomenal, and that's just not bullshit. It's funny because like over the last probably year, two wrestlers that I've absolutely love are AJ Styles and Kevin Owens. So to say that the two of them right now are world champions on their respective brands is just, it's actually awesome. It makes t-shirt wearing for me so much easier because I got like my AJ t-shirts, my Kevin Owens t-shirts. So yeah, I wear a t-shirt of the face that runs this place. So the match was actually very, very good. Good match again. It's weird. The entire SmackDown Live, Backlash, just call it SmackDown. SmackDown Live Backlash pay-per-view was actually fantastic. And this match was awesome yet again. Another great match. Both men worked really hard. AJ was great. I love the John Cena fucking bandana. It's fantastic. Getting his moves in, and at the end, you know what I mean? Kind of like doing the low blow and then getting the pin. But at the same time, is it really like it taints the victory so that you can go back to that well later on at No Mercy, and you're probably gonna have a rematch. But the thing though that it kind of does at the same time is, even though he did that, that's something that Ambrose would do as well. So it's not really, he didn't fight like outside of the parameters of the way Ambrose would fight, because Ambrose would give you a low blow. So, it's kind of, I kind of see it as it's a good way to make them, to get the fact that Ambrose lost the title because AJ cheated per se. But at the same time, I don't really consider it cheating because Ambrose would have done the same thing. On that note, AJ Styles winning the WWE Championship was fantastic. Another moment where my arms went up and I screamed because I have always loved AJ. AJ was the person who carried TNA for the longest of time, and it hasn't been the same since he's left. Now, for those of you who know some of the stories, AJ was supposed to come to the WWE before, but they wanted him to go to NXT, and AJ Styles said, no, I'm not going to NXT. Basically, it's either main roster or I'll look elsewhere. And he did, and he went to New Japan Pro Wrestling. And what did he do there? What he did there, he kind of pulled a Hogan. That's what he did there. AJ Styles he looks younger, he's been in business for a while. So basically, he went there, joined the big in club, kind of what Hogan did with the NWO, and kind of stretched his popularity to the newer generation of people who are all Bullet Club fans. Excuse me. They're all Bullet Club fans. Just like all the younger people were all NWO fans. So Hogan got to connect with them. AJ got to connect with these other people because of the Bullet Club. And then he comes back and WWE is like, okay, well, no worries. Fuck NXT. you can come directly on a roster. And he does at the Royal Rumble and gets a massive, massive reaction. And he hasn't stopped since. And he is deserving of that WWE Championship. Just like Kevin Owens was deserving of that WWE Universal Championship. But I think Kevin Owens actually needed the NXT time because people had to wash off the thought of him being Kevin Steen. And since AJ kept his name the way it was, you didn't really have to do that. He could still be the same person, while Kevin Steen kind of had to wash that off a little bit and get people to acclimated to the name Kevin Owens. And his less damaging or violent damaging, whatever you want to call it, way of wrestling. But both of them are fantastic, and I'm happy for both of them being champions on their respective brands. Something else, actually, another person that they could have brought directly to the roster while I'm on the subject, to the main roster and not go through NXT, is Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode is... the guy is over on his music alone. Just his intro is over. Like, he could be on the main roster easily. Like he is glorious. And I've always liked him. I always liked him in DNA. So he is I hope he doesn't stay in NXT too long, because I don't want this whole glorious thing to get overplayed. But man, when he gets to the main roster, it's going to be fantastic. So yeah. So that about sums up my review and thoughts on the Smackdown pay-per-view, Backlash. So if any of you want to leave comments or thoughts on the pay-per-view, go right ahead. And yeah, till next time, guys, take care. Later.